Hello, scholars. As you know, our focus for the next 2 weeks is going to be 7R3. Let's read the standard together. In informational texts, analyze how individuals, events, and ideas are introduced, relate to each other, and are developed. So, as we're reading all of our informational texts this week, we're going to focus on the choices that the writer makes in how they introduce the topic and how they show the connection between different events or different individuals. So, let's talk about this situation here. Why does an individual invent something new? Is it a response to a question, a dream, or a need? Most often, different individuals, events, and ideas work in combination to influence an inventor's thoughts and actions. In turn, those thoughts and actions impact other individuals, events, and ideas. So let's consider the events of this cartoon. This is Og and this is Erg. What effect does Og's complaint have on his wife Erg? And how does this influence her thinking? And what are the final results? Og says in his broken English, Og wish Og had somewhere comfy to sit. Erg has a nice idea, and it looks like she invents the chair. And hopefully she invented a chair for herself too. Look at this chart. This chart is very helpful when we're thinking about cause and effect and how different events and different people influence and impact others. So we start with an idea. The ideas influence somebody in this way. So the idea was a need for a comfy place to sit. This influenced Erg, the inventor. How did it influence her? It influenced her by inspiring her to invent the chair. Oops, look at my spelling here. Inspiring. All right, you see what I did with those red squiggly lines? You guys need to get in the habit of fixing stuff like that. All right, so here it is. The idea, need a comfy place to sit. That idea kind of influenced Erg, the inventor. She likes to invent things. It influenced her to create and invent the chair. So this chart shows a very simple cause and effect relationship between Og's comment and Erg's invention. In contrast, consider the interactions among all the different factors that led to the invention of the airplane, for example. All right, so from observations of birds in flight to experiments with gliders and the invention of small engines, many individuals, ideas, and events influenced the Wright brothers' thinking and responses. Ultimately, the invention of the airplane was the result. So that's an example of how, it's kind of like what we read about DNA. The different scientists, um, they did studies and they found different things out and they added on to each other, made different discoveries, and little by little, our ideas about what DNA was developed. Same thing with flight. Informational texts often explore the relationships among individuals, events, and ideas. As a good reader, carefully analyze how each individual, event, or idea relates to others. Note how they shape the development of later events and ideas, as well as the choices individuals make. The reason this is a very good standard and what we need you to know before you leave 7th grade is when you're really good at understanding cause and effect, when you see events happening, you are able to look ahead in the future a little bit because you know what's happened in the past. You know about all these different things you've read about, and you can make better decisions because you can kind of see what's coming. All right, let's give an example. We're going to read this article, short article about flying horses. We're going to read the first paragraph of this historical account by the photographer Edward Muybridge. And I'm always going to read the question first. What individuals, events, and ideas led Muybridge plan to photograph a horse? So why did this guy all of a sudden get an idea to photograph a horse? Let's read. Flying Horses by Cynthia Hernandez. Do horses fly? Intelligent, well-educated people were still asking this question at the end of the 19th century. Although the age of believing in winged horses had long since passed, people still wondered if a horse ever lifted all 4 hooves off the ground at the same time. If someone could prove that a horse's hooves left the ground, then the answer would indicate that yes, in a sense, horses do fly. Edward Muybridge, photographer and adventurer, put an end to years of speculation. Through the use of a new technology, photography, he laid the question to rest at last. In 1872, Muybridge was working as a photographer in San Francisco when Leland Stanford, former California governor, hired Muybridge to photograph his racehorse. Stanford wanted to know if all 4 hooves of a trotting horse actually leave the ground, even for an instant. Muybridge rapidly hatched a plan. Unfortunately, his early efforts were unsuccessful. Luckily, this article is continued because it is very interesting. All right, we'll go back to this question. What individuals, events, and ideas led to Muybridge's plan to photograph a horse? So let's think about how the question about horses influenced Muybridge's actions. Remember, we have an idea, it influences somebody, and it influences them in a certain way, right? What was the idea? The idea, or kind of the question was, can horses fly? This question influenced Edward Muybridge. And how did it influence him? It influenced him by causing him to photograph Stanford's horse, right? There's an idea. Edward Muybridge gets hired by the former governor of California, and it causes him to take pictures of Stanford's horse, right? So let's look at this question. How did people, events, and ideas influence Muybridge's plan? We can explain the relationship among the factors. So I could say, let's see. Let me move this down. All right. The question of whether horses fly is what leads to subsequent events. Subsequent means events that happen afterward. Stanford asks Muybridge to photograph his horses because he wants an answer to the question. This event causes Muybridge to figure out a plan to use photography to see a horse's movements. So that's what today is all about. This is going to be your work for today. I just want you to analyze and think about, how do people influence others, and how do things influence others, and how do they cause things to happen? Things don't just happen randomly. There's a lot of things that happen beforehand that influence us. So it's good as a reader, when you're reading informational text, to make those connections and figure out, why is somebody acting this way? Why did somebody react that way? All right. Pay attention to the close reading. Pay attention to the hint. It will help you get a correct answer. I think I'm going to ask you, instead of underlining the sentence in the Google form, you're going to write the sentence that explains how high-speed photographs revealed what they revealed. You're just going to read these 2 paragraphs. You're going to answer this question. Make sure you read the question first, and then show your thinking. Come up with examples to really cement your argument so you get a really good grade. That is that. If you have any questions, we are available, so just reach out to us. Thank you so much. Take care.